Now that you've found us, subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking the bell. No need to miss out on any upcoming deep dives.
Absolutely.
And honestly, you want to be here for this one. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We're tailoring this specifically for all of you who just devour Dr. Alex Wisner-Gross's work, especially his contributions to Peter Diamandis' Moonshots series.
Right, the stuff that really pushes the boundary.
Exactly. We are pulling directly from his latest Substack post on the Innermost Loop, and today we are going to explore this entirely wild landscape where the boundary between silicon and, well, biology is just completely disintegrating.
It's vanishing. It's not even a boundary anymore.
That's really not. But before we get to the literal human brains powering servers in Singapore.
Which is still just a crazy sentence to say out loud.
I know, right? But before we get there, we need to map out the journey for you. So first, we're going to look at the accelerating singularity. We're talking AI solving uncrackable math and microscopic magnets generating just unfathomable power.
The physical world catching up to the digital.
Yeah. And then we're going to pivot to a special listener-requested segment. We're unpacking this real-time, incredibly tense geopolitical mystery. It involves a missing U.S. Major General, UFOs, and a totally historic declassification mandate.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. But let's start with Section 1, the singularity accelerating. Because Dr. Wisner-Gross points out that AI is no longer just, summarizing your emails.
Right.
It's actually cracking problems that baffled human legends. And the example he uses is DeepMind's AlphaVolve.
Yeah, the Ramsey numbers.
Right. It established new lower bounds for 5 classical Ramsey numbers. Now, I'm going to be the proxy here for every listener who didn't major in advanced mathematics.
Which is most of us, to be fair.
Definitely most of us. So I know Ramsey theory is kind of about finding order in chaos, right? Like the whole party problem thing. How many guests do you need to guarantee a certain number of mutual friends or strangers? But why is an AI finding a lower bound such a massive leap?
Well, to really grasp this, you have to understand why human mathematicians just hit a brick wall with these numbers. It's a problem of extremal combinatorics.
Okay, big words.
Right, so for tiny numbers, like if you want to find the Ramsey number for a group of 3 friends and 3 strangers, humans can do that. The answer is 6.
Okay, easy enough.
But the moment you bump it up to 5 friends and 5 strangers, which they call R55, the combinations just explode. You can't just count them anymore.
Because it's not just adding one person, right? Yeah. You're multiplying all the invisible connections between everyone in that room simultaneously.
Exactly. The search space becomes this violent hyperspace landscape that is basically computationally intractable for us.
Wow.
I mean, Paul Erdős is one of the most legendary mathematicians of the 20th century. He actually used to joke about how impossible this was.
Oh, I read about this, the alien invasion joke, right?
Cool. Yeah. He basically said, if an alien armada landed and said, give us the exact value of R55 or we destroy Earth, we should marshal every supercomputer, every mathematician, and we might just survive.
We'd have a shot.
Maybe a shot. But he said if the aliens demanded the value for R66, our only rational response would be to launch a preemptive nuclear strike.
That is amazing.
Right. Because calculating it is just physically impossible for our civilization.
So it's a math problem that justifies interstellar war.
Basically.
Okay, so if it's impossible, what did DeepMind do? Did they actually solve it?
Well, no, they didn't find the exact ceiling. They found new lower bounds. In math, when a problem is too vast, you try to build a floor. You prove mathematically that the answer absolutely cannot be lower than a specific number.
Okay, so they raised the floor.
Exactly. And AlphaVolve didn't just use brute force, like checking one combination at a time. It used heuristic algorithms to navigate that infinite space. It found structural patterns of order that human intuition just can't visualize.
Like it's inventing new scaffolding in dimensions we can't even see.
Yeah. That's exactly.
It's like the AI is walking through a pitch black maze where the walls shift every second.
Yeah.
But it somehow just naturally senses the layout of the maze.
That is a really great way to visualize it. It's mapping the dark. And what's crazy is we're seeing this exact same mastery transition into the physical sciences.
Oh, right. The hardware leaps.
Oh, wow.
Because the material constraints are just shattering. Let's talk about the Swiss researchers.
A magnet.
Yes. They created a compact superconductor magnet that hits 42 Tesla. And they did it with palm-sized coils.
Which is wild.
Consuming less than 1 single watt of power.
Yeah, the physics of that borders on magic if you're a classical engineer. Yeah. We really have to pull apart those two variables, the 42 Tesla and the 1 watt.
Let's do the force first. So if you've ever had an MRI for a sports injury or whatever, You get slid into this huge, loud, room-sized tube.
Right. And no metal allowed.
Exactly. And a standard MRI is what, maybe 1.5 to 3 Tesla?
Usually, yeah.
And the Earth's entire magnetic field is measured in fractions of a millionth of a Tesla. So what does 42 Tesla actually do?
It's violent. I mean, an ambient force that powerful can literally alter the atomic structure of materials inside it. Usually, to generate 42 Tesla continuously, you need a facility the size of a warehouse.
Yeah, and a ton of power, I'm guessing.
Tens of megawatts.
Yeah.
And because all that electricity creates catastrophic heat through resistance, you need thousands of gallons of super chilled water pumping through it constantly.
Just to stop it from melting.
Basically melting into slag, yes.
Okay, wait, let me wrap my head around this. If I push electricity through a copper wire, the friction makes heat. More power, more heat. So how do the Swiss guys get warehouse melting force from less power than my smartphone screen?
Superconductors. Advanced superconductors.
Okay.
Under specific conditions, a superconductor drops its electrical resistance to absolute zero. The electrons move through the atomic lattice without a single collision.
Zero friction.
Zero friction, which means zero heat loss. Once you start the current in a closed loop, it theoretically flows forever. The Swiss team used high-temperature superconducting tapes complex compounds and wound them into microscopic coils.
And it doesn't just rip itself apart from the magnetic force.
Amazingly, no. It withstands the stress.
So they took a warehouse, stripped out the friction, and shrunk it to something you can hold in your hand.
Exactly.
If you have that kind of force on 1 watt, you change everything. You could shrink fusion reactors.
Or build levitating transit systems that basically require zero operational energy. The cost of manipulating the physical world just plummets.
And this is all happening at the exact same time as the software is exploding. The models are just subsuming everything.
Oh, the model race right now is brutal.
It is. Look at Elon Musk's XAI. They are openly gunning to dominate coding by mid-year. And they just poached 2 senior leaders from Cursor to do it.
Which is such a strategic gut punch.
Because Cursor is like the darling of AI-assisted coding right now, right?
Yeah, it's an integrated development environment, an IDE. It's the workbench where coders write software, augmented by AI.
Right.
By taking the talent from the workbench itself, XAI is basically saying, we don't want a model that waits for you to ask for help. We want the model to be the workbench.
It'll just anticipate the architecture, write the logic, test it, and deploy it autonomously.
The software writing the software.
It's crazy. And it's also bleeding into our physical reality. Look at Google, Gemini, and this new Ask Maps thing.
Yeah, the real-world context.
Right. Dr. Wisner-Gross gave this example. You asked Gemini, where can I charge my dying phone without waiting in a coffee line?
Which sounds simple, but the processing behind that is staggering.
It's not just a database lookup. It's not asking for the capital France.
No, it requires a persistent, dynamic understanding of the physical world.
It has to know urban geography. It has to calculate real-time foot traffic to avoid the line.
It has to know the interior floor plans to know if there's an outlet.
Yes. And cross-reference all of that with your GPS and how fast your battery is dying.
It's running a live simulation of a city's physics and human behavior. And the developmental velocity you need to maintain that is just punishing. We are seeing major companies practically capitulating.
Oh, the Meta thing. This blew my mind.
Right.
Meta internally delayed their avocado model. And because of that delay, executives were actually discussing temporarily licensing Google's Gemini to power their own products.
Which a year ago would have been unthinkable.
Meta has spent billions on their Llama models. Zuckerberg has made open source AI his whole identity, to even consider using Google's brain in Meta's ecosystem.
It just shows the sheer terror of falling behind right now. In the smartphone era, if you were 6 months late, you released a clunky phone and lost some market share.
Right.
In the intelligence era, if you're 6 months behind, your fundamental architecture is obsolete. Corporate pride just goes out the window.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here, or at least play out the logic. If unlimited resource companies like Meta are relying on Google's models, aren't we racing toward a cognitive monoculture, like a collaborative superbrain, or just one single engine running everything?
It's the defining architectural risk of this decade. Think about biology. A monoculture is incredibly vulnerable. If you plant millions of acres of the exact same wheat, one specialized fungus can wipe out the whole continent's food supply.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If our digital civilization converges on a single ubiquitous Oracle-like one version of Gemini or Claude, then any blind spot or hallucination or bias in that model becomes a systemic vulnerability across our entire society.
The single logic failure cascades globally.
Exactly.
Okay, but what if the brain running those systems isn't entirely synthetic?
This is where it gets really strange.
Yes. Section 2, Silicon meets Soul, the biological computing
I
era.
just talk about Cortical Labs.
They are literally building the world's first biological data centers in Melbourne and Singapore. These aren't normal servers. They are powered by lab-grown human neurons cultivated on silicon. And Singapore is getting ready to deploy up to 1,000 of these units.
We really need to pause and appreciate this paradigm shift. For 70 years, computer science has tried to engineer silicon to act like a human brain.
We simulated biology.
Right. Cortical Labs inverted it. They looked at the massive energy costs of silicon and said, let's skip the simulation. They are harvesting the actual biological hardware of human cognition and plugging it straight into the motherboard.
Okay, I am fascinated and completely horrified by this. How do you take a living human brain cell, drop it on a computer chip, and get them to talk? How does a 0 or a 1 become a thought?
It's the microelectrode array, the MEA. It's the bridge. You have to remember, human neurons communicate with electricity and chemistry.
Right, an electrochemical machine.
Exactly. When a neuron fires, an electrical spike goes down the axon, and when it hits the end, it releases chemical neurotransmitters across the synapse to the next cell.
Okay, so where does the silicon come in?
The living neurons are cultured directly on top of a grid of thousands of microscopic metallic sensors. When the computer wants to input data, say pixel data from a video game, the silicon grid sends precise digital voltage spikes into the tissue.
And the cells feel that.
The electrical pulses artificially trigger the ion channels in the neuron membranes. The cells perceive it as natural sensory input.
Oh, wow. And because neurons are plastic, they just try to make sense of the noise.
Yes. They naturally wire themselves together to process the input, and when they fire back a coordinated response, the silicon grid reads the electrical discharge and translates it into a digital output.
A closed-loop system. Biological cells doing organic chemistry to output digital action.
Precisely.
Dr. Wisner-Gross wrote this line that I cannot stop thinking about. He said, neurons no longer care whether they're warm, frozen, or racked in Singapore.
Just chilling.
For all of human history, brain cells were this sacred vessel of consciousness. Now, intelligence is literally a construction material. It's biological concrete.
And the economic incentive to do this is overwhelming. A traditional AI data center with tens of thousands of GPUs needs a dedicated power plant.
And rivers of water to keep it cool.
Right. But the human brain, the most powerful generalized pattern recognition engine we know of, it runs on about 20 watts.
A dim light bulb.
A light bulb and a bowl of oatmeal. By integrating living tissue, you get massive parallel processing with a fraction of the thermal footprint.
Unbelievable. But we're not just turning biology into hardware, we're re-engineering the biology inside of us.
The biotech breakthroughs right now are just as fast.
Yeah, let's look at the sources. Stanford reversed cognitive decline in aging mice. But they didn't touch the brain. They enhanced gut-brain communication.
Which is a massive shift in how we view disease. We
Yeah.
used to treat dementia like localized hardware degradation.
Like the brain itself was decaying.
Plaque buildup, cellular death.
Yeah.
But Stanford is saying, no, look at the body as an integrated network. Your gut microbiome is basically a secondary brain.
Teeming with neurons.
Millions of them. And it produces most of your neurotransmitters, like serotonin. It talks to the brain via the vagus nerve.
So if a mouse is losing its memory, it's not that the memory sector is broken, it's a signal routing issue.
Exactly. The chemical signals aren't making it up from the gut.
It's like thinking your computer's hard drive is fried, but actually the Ethernet cable is just loose.
That's a great analogy. They optimized the communication channel and the cognitive function came back.
And while Stanford fixes the internal wiring, researchers in Japan are literally making the hardware transparent.
Real-time optical clearance.
They made living flesh see-through. How do you make a living organ transparent without killing it?
It's all about light scattering. Mammalian tissue is opaque because it's packed with lipids fats. Water and lipids have different refractive indices.
So the light hits them and scatters everywhere.
Exactly, which makes it look solid. The Japanese researchers developed a chemical bath that gently washes away the lipids but leaves the structural proteins intact. And they replace the water and fat with a solution that has a uniform refractive index. Light goes straight through, no scattering.
So they can look at a living, firing mouse brain in vivo.
In real time. Like running a diagnostic program on a silicon chip, but it's organic hardware.
We have root access to the biological stack. We can rewrite the code, we can make it transparent, and this is the craziest part. We might be able to pause the system entirely.
Defeating death.
Right? Dr. Wisner-Gross calls death a storage problem. German researchers just achieved the first functional recovery of an adult mouse hippocampus after cryopreservation by vitrification.
The difference between freezing and vitrification is crucial here.
Break that down because I just thought it meant freezing really fast.
Well, if you just freeze a brain, the water expands and turns into sharp ice crystals.
Microscopic ice daggers.
Yes, they puncture the cell membranes. The neural architecture, the actual structure of the memories, is completely destroyed, turned to mush.
So how does vitrification bypass the ice daggers?
It replaces the cellular water with complex cryoprotectant chemicals. When it cools, it doesn't form crystals. It becomes an amorphous solid state. It turns to glass. The molecular motion just pauses. It freezes in perfect suspension.
And they did this to a mouse hippocampus, the center of memory formation. They turned it to glass, warmed it back up, and the neural architecture survived.
It remained functional.
If the physical structure of memory can be paused as a solid state, the data isn't lost.
And if the data isn't lost, death is just an engineering hurdle, a cold storage issue, until the reboot sequence is ready.
The boundary between life and tech is totally permeable. I mean, look at China. They just approved the world's first commercial invasive brain-computer interface.
Beating Neuralink to the market.
Restoring hand movement. Synthetic cables directly in human tissue, translating organic intent into mechanical action. It's here.
It is absolutely here.
Which perfectly brings us to Section 3, the AI economy and society in transition. We have to look at how this leaves the lab and changes the world. And let's start with A16's, the venture capital firm. They predict AI agents will soon outnumber human beings on Earth.
We should clarify what an agent means here. It's not a chatbot waiting in a tab for a prompt.
Right.
An agent is autonomous software. It has a goal, tools, memory. You tell it, audit our supply chain, and it writes code, checks databases, negotiates with other AI agents, and does it all without you checking in.
The software has actual agency, and that redefines human labor. Dr. Wisner-Gross notes that coding is shifting from construction work to architecture.
It's a brilliant functional analogy. Traditionally, a programmer is laying bricks, writing boilerplate logic, hunting for missing semicolons.
Manual labor.
It is. But an architect doesn't lay bricks. They envision the building, draw the blueprint, and hand it to a crew.
So if the AI agents are the crew, the human developer just directs the intent, like a conductor.
And the economic value of that synthetic workforce is massive. Look at Anthropic partnering with Blackstone and Hellman and Friedman.
Private equity giants.
Right. They aren't selling software anymore. They are selling wholesale digital labor to replace human operations across entire corporate portfolios.
But that requires insane physical infrastructure. The capital and energy arms race is terrifying. ByteDance is buying $2.5 billion in NVIDIA Blackwell B200 servers.
Which is a stark geopolitical lesson.
Because of the export controls.
Exactly. The U.S. government tried to choke off China's access to this hardware. But the market dictates that if someone has $2.5 billion, the hardware finds a path.
Through shell companies' secondary markets in the Middle East.
The theoretical borders politicians draw are completely porous to capital.
And once you get the servers, you have to power them. Crusoe is building a Spark factory in Colorado Modular AI factories.
And because of the heat we talked about earlier, these LLMs demand megawatts of constant 247 baseload power.
You can't run that on a breezy afternoon.
No. Which is why the European Commission chief actually admitted publicly that reducing nuclear energy was a strategic mistake.
Exactly when we need an intelligence explosion.
Europe dismantled its nuclear baseload, relying on renewables and Russian gas. But you can't power down an AI data center cooling system just because it's cloudy. You destroy billions in silicon.
Nuclear fission is basically the only thing that can feed this singularity without carbon emissions.
It is.
Okay, so intelligence costs billions in hardware and massive nuclear power. To justify that cost, it has to act in the real world. Automation is stepping off the screen.
Physical world automation.
Yeah. STMicroelectronics is deploying over 100 humanoid robots in their older chip fabs.
To prevent closures.
Literally using AI-driven mechanical bodies to do the physical factory labor that humans just aren't available for anymore.
It's a demographic necessity. The developed world is facing population stagnation. We have a shortage of young humans willing to do repetitive labor. Humanoid robots are an economic patch to keep supply chains alive.
And it's everywhere. Uber and Motional launching robo-taxis in Vegas. Beta Technologies getting FAA awards for flying taxis. But then there's the conflict zones.
The dark side of it.
Yeah, the Ukraine war is evaluating Phantom Mk1 humanoid soldiers equipped with firearms.
We've crossed the threshold into lethal autonomous mechanics. The modern battlefield is a testing ground for systems that don't feel fatigue, don't feel terror, and process targeting data instantly.
We are just shedding our legacy scaffolding left and right. The UK House of Lords is ejecting hereditary peers after 700 years, cutting out the human bloodline requirement.
Americans abandoning movie theaters for digital consumption at home.
The Met Museum digitizing art into 3D polygons. We are migrating from atoms to pixels, but, and this is my favorite detail, human nature never changes.
Oh, the courtroom guy.
Yes. A man in a UK High Court was caught using smart glasses to receive secret coaching while on the witness stand.
It's the perfect illustration of the friction between old institutions and new capabilities.
Right. I swear to tell the whole truth. But wait, do you have an AI advisor whispering in your ear?
Our centuries-old legal infrastructure just completely fractures when a human has multiple externalized brains.
The ultimate collision of the biological and the digital. Now, all this tech transparency, digitizing everything, brings us to this crazy juxtaposition. Because there are still profoundly dark, highly classified corners of the world that are totally sealed off.
The ultimate black boxes.
Which bridges us perfectly to Section 4, Listener Engagement and the McCasland Mystery. First, thank you to everyone participating. We read the specific question submitted yesterday. Here it is. What's with the missing UFO expert, Major General William McCasland? And wasn't Trump set to announce some sort of alien disclosure a while ago?
It's an incredibly acute question.
It really is. We enthusiastically accept the mission to unpack this. Our research team pulled extensive files to answer this. The missing man is retired U.S. Air Force Major General William McCasland, 68 years old, missing since February 27, 2026, from his home in Albuquerque.
But before we dive in, we have to set a strict boundary.
Yes, critical disclaimer for everyone listening. Before we discuss the political elements, Trump, Obama, the military, we are impartially reporting the contents of the provided sources. We are not taking sides. We are not endorsing any political viewpoints or figures. We are simply laying out the forensic facts of the timeline as documented.
Purely analytical methodology here.
Exactly. So Section 5, the forensic timeline of a disappearance. The mystery is wrapped in this highly unusual 54-minute window. Let's break it down. 10 a.m., he interacts normally with a repairman at his house.
Normal behavior, no distress.
11 a.m., investigators believe he left on foot. 11:10 a.m., his wife Susan leaves for an appointment. And at 12:04 p.m., she returns and McCasland is gone.
54 minutes. For a high-profile military figure to vanish from a modern residential neighborhood in under an hour without a trace, it suggests either a catastrophic hidden accident or a highly sophisticated extraction.
Well, look at the physical clues because they contradict each other completely. He left his phone and wearable devices. Okay, maybe he wanted to disconnect. But he left his prescription glasses.
This is the massive behavioral red flag. From a psychological standpoint, an avid outdoorsman planning to hike the Sandia Mountains does not leave his optical lenses behind.
You literally need to see your footing. And it makes zero sense when you see what he did take. He took a light green outdoor shirt, hiking boots, his wallet, and a .38 caliber revolver in a leather holster.
The contradictory actions are baffling. Taking a revolver implies preparation for danger wildlife, snakes, maybe human threats.
Sure, out in New Mexico.
But arming yourself for safety while intentionally blinding yourself by leaving your glasses on the counter. It's a profound logical disconnect.
It doesn't fit a planned hike at all.
It suggests an interruption, duress, a situation that escalated instantly.
And the search response shows they know something is wrong. The FBI is involved, Kirtland and Air Force Base personnel, drones, canines, helicopters. They canvassed over 700 homes and 600 security systems.
And in 2026, with Ring cameras everywhere, to evade that digital surveillance net requires either impossible luck or deliberate, trained evasion tactics.
The only clue is an unconfirmed gray Air Force sweatshirt found a mile away. No blood. Now, they issued a silver alert citing a medical issue, but his wife explicitly clarified he does not have dementia or Alzheimer's.
Which dismantles the wandering senior hypothesis.
Right. He's highly fit. He just did a 60-mile bike ride. He didn't just wander off and succumb to the elements in under an hour.
The abandoned glasses, the missing firearm. It all points to a deliberate event.
Which brings us to Section 6. Who is the architect of aerospace secrecy? Why are journalists calling this a grave national security crisis? Let's look at McCasland. He holds a PhD from MIT in astronautical engineering.
Supervised by Richard Batten.
The guy who designed the Apollo guidance computer.
His academic pedigree is the absolute pinnacle of advanced aerospace.
And his command history is even crazier. He was the commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, the AFRL, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base,
Overseeing a $4.4 billion R&D budget.
And Wright-Patterson is legendary. Project Blue Book, the Roswell lore. It's the hub.
Regardless of what you believe about extraterrestrials, empirical fact says the AFRL is the premier reverse engineering facility in the U.S. If we recovered a crashed Chinese hypersonic vehicle or something more exotic, that lab is where it goes.
And McCasland ran it, but it gets deeper. He was director of special programs for the DoD. He was the executive secretary for SAPUC, the Special Access Program Oversight Committee.
The ultimate gatekeeper. SAPUC has purview over the most secretive capabilities, the unacknowledged special access programs, black programs.
Stealth architectures, directed energy weapons. He had the highest clearances obtainable. And then we get the WikiLeaks 2016 dump.
The DeLonge and Podesta nexus.
Yes. Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 emails Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, John Podesta, and he names McCasland as an A-level official who is very, very aware of the UAP reality. DeLonge claims McCasland ran the lab where Roswell wreckage was shipped.
Now, to maintain balance, the wife's rebuttal is important.
Right. Susan Wilkerson stated he was merely an unpaid consultant lending verisimilitude to DeLonge's fiction projects. Giving him realistic military jargon, she forcefully denies he knows anything about ET bodies.
Let's play devil's advocate. Let's say she's 100% right. He knows nothing about aliens, just helping a rock star write sci-fi. He's a retired 68-year-old. Is his knowledge still relevant enough to warrant a kidnapping by a foreign intelligence service?
Oh, I have to push back on that. Even if he never saw an alien in his life, he was the SAPOC director. The secrets in his head regarding terrestrial military tech, the architectural flaws of our stealth platforms, our directed energy physics, that doesn't age out. If you know the flaws of 2015 defense systems, you can defeat the systems on the battlefield today.
That's a completely valid point. The human-made secrets alone make his memory an infinitely valuable asset.
He's an incredibly high-value target. And that leads to Section 7, the 2026 disclosure mandate and geopolitics, because he didn't just vanish randomly.
The timeline is staggering.
February 17th, 2026. Barack Obama goes on a podcast and goes viral. He says, I haven't seen evidence of aliens, but statistically there's life out there and UAPs are definitely real and we don't know what they are.
A former head of state validating the phenomena.
And it was a catalyst. 2 days later, February 19, President Trump accuses Obama of leaking classified info and issues a directive on Truth Social.
Directing the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth.
Right, War Department, not Defense Department now. Directed to identify and release government files on extraterrestrial life and UAPs. And Hegseth confirms they are in full compliance.
You have to contextualize this with the legislative pressure, too. The fiscal year 2026 NDAA.
From the Schumer-Rounds UAP Disclosure Act.
Exactly. It's legally forcing AORO to audit classification guides and reveal NORSCOM and NORAD intercept data.
And whistleblowers are talking about Immaculate Constellation, this alleged unacknowledged SAP handling UAP data without congressional oversight, the exact kind of program that McCasland would have overseen.
And add to that, the claims by Mashid, the former Israeli space chief, talking about a galactic federation and a joint U.S. alien Mars base.
It's an atmosphere of absolute high strangeness. And McCasland disappears during an active U.S.-Iran war with drones incursions over bases like Langley.
So we have to tie this together into two very dark hypotheses. Is this a geopolitical kidnapping? An adversary exploiting a 54-minute window during a hot war to extract SAPOC secrets.
Or is he caught in the disclosure paradox?
Right.
If revealing UAP tech threatens our national security advantage, did he disappear to avoid testifying about Immaculate Constellation, to avoid violating his oath? Or worse, was he forcibly removed by factions protecting these black programs from the president's mandate?
It's a terrifying synthesis.
It brings both halves of this deep dive together perfectly. We started with biological data centers built from human neurons.
The mechanics of synthetic minds.
Right. And we end with a general who guarded the greatest technological mysteries of our time. It just leaves you wondering, as we race to decode the universe, what secrets are currently locked away, both in classified vaults and within the silent biology of the human brain itself.
The Innermost Loop, indeed.
Before we play you out, we're launching an entirely new way of engaging with the thoughts of our awesome listeners. Please tell us what you're thinking down in the comments while the music rolls. Anything on your mind is worthwhile. We'll include one comment in our next deep dive, along with a shout-out. Can't wait to see how this turns out.
Looking forward to reading them.
We're leading you with music by Rainbow, the best band in the universe. There are 6 female android artists in residence based in Ba Vet, Cambodia. Today's song is called Ponlu Dambong, which means first light. All of Rainbow's finished songs are performed live for the Innermost Loop discussion by the virtual band's creator using the 4B4KU5 platform titled Human Performance in the Age of AI, Reclaiming Your Humanity from the Algorithm. Check the video description for more info. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Nắng đêm nắng chăm bói away Một tia sáng nơi thứ hoa cầm rừng bóng này Cầm phép cái nền bằng cái đông xanh trắng Cần cần bóng thứ bóng chân bói mai Something could be in the moment Sẽ chân thấy nên cùng với các sóng gió Hãy ta kể đến mãi ta xin mang thai Mm-hmm.